Hello and welcome to the I Am podcast for the Independent American Mama. I am your host, Vienna Mishlevic. We are mid-January now, and something big on my mind recently is my focus on mental health. Around this time of year, focusing on your mental health can be incredibly beneficial, as it's a time when many people are reflecting on last year and setting goals for this year and the years to come. It's important to discuss mental health openly and kindling a community of mamas who are supportive and compassionate. The winter holidays are over, the store shelves are filling up with Valentine's Day decorations, and I have realized in myself that I need to relax my muscles. I need to de-stress and let go of tension from the holidays, including mindfulness practices and relaxation techniques such as meditation that can make a tremendous impact for me. As I move forward for the new year, I'm working on setting big goals and realistic ones that can make it subtle impacts on my brain to strengthen my confidence. We can easily overwhelm ourselves by setting our bar too high at the beginning of the year, and within 2 to 8 weeks, we sabotage ourselves. Definitely create big goals, dream big, but understand where you are right now and with the circumstances that you're faced with, how you can reach that in a realistic time frame. I am here to support you. Let us know below what your big goal is so we can bring you content to assist in any way that we can. Today, I have an amazing speaker with me. Her name is Amanda. She is the CEO and co-founder of LYFE Works Partnership and a professional energy healer with a deep love for bringing light and healing to others. With an 8-year journey into body code and energy healing, Amanda brings an effective approach to overall wellness that has impacted how she parents. Get ready to dive into understanding our limitless capacities, uncovering traumas, and healing from home with Amanda as she reflects on her experience and wealth of knowledge. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Good. We're doing good. You look bright and cheery.
Thank you. I tried.
Well, I am super glad that you're on this podcast with me. I really wanted you to jump on this with me because I know you guys are all about personal development. You're working on yourself and you like to dive into why we do what we do. And you really make me think about why I do what I do most when we talk. And so I really wanted you to come in here and talk a lot about our headspace and how to center ourselves and get in the right headspace. And so thank you for being willing to be here with me today.
Of course, it's my pleasure. You're totally right. We are definitely on a daily basis deep diving into why we do things, sometimes to the point of insanity. Um, One of the things that really shifted this journey of personal development for me was becoming a mom. There was one thing that nobody ever told me, and maybe a lot of people don't necessarily realize this, but once you become a mom, then suddenly all of your kind of parent and childhood issues sort of like pop up like daisies.
Yeah.
And you're like, crap, that's there? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? So we began, I started before my boys in this world due to major diagnoses for mental illness, major depressive disorder, extreme anxiety, borderline personality disorder, lots of big names for just your body being imbalanced. And so I'd started on this journey of energy healing and personal introspection to just have a better life, excuse me, to have a better experience in life. And then when I became a parent, it was like, oh man, now I need to dive deeper into myself even further to figure out why I have what I still have that I hadn't still worked through, and do it in a way that allowed me to hopefully pass on less to my kids. I like to remind my mom friends that your kids are probably not going to come out of their childhood unscathed. It's not to any fault of the parents. We're all doing our best. So to give themselves a little break there and know that that's true, and you can hold that truth and still keep trying to do your best and improve. So, yeah, so that's kind of how it all kind of, came bigger into my life, is through this desire of passing kind of less crap onto my kids,
Yeah,
less trials through, the way that I was showing up. Because they
absolutely.
always say that kids follow your actions more than they do your words. And
Yeah,
I needed to make sure my actions were better than my words.
totally. And
So
it's always going to be a journey to do that too, because you're always learning, your kids are growing, different things happen, circumstances. It's always going to be a lesson to learn, right?
totally, yes, every moment a lesson. That was one of the, it was sort of like a bittersweet thing to learn, is that and all of the trials and all of like the hard moments, the spats with your kids or the weird confrontations or whatever, it's there for us to learn. We're like, no, it's not. It's bad and it doesn't like me and it's horrible and it's no fun and whatever. But the reality is those moments are all of our things kind of surfacing for us to confront. And so if we see it as this opportunity to be like, okay, this is coming up, like I'm upset at them for this because, okay, but why am I upset at them for this? Because, and then you kind of dig in a little bit deeper into what's really under there. And a lot of the times for us parents, I believe that it's this um, very, very ancient thing. I learned this years ago, that a lot of the way that we operate in the world is actually from a very tribal standpoint, trying to keep our place in the tribe and fit in with the tribe and stay safe. Because, a million years ago, you had to have a place in the tribe or you'd be an outcast and you'd get eaten by a lion.
Yeah.
And so there was this like safety in the tribe. And um, with us as parents now, I believe that a lot of the time, some of our like upsets with our children is, hey, we want to make sure that you're doing things to fit into the tribe. We want you to be safe in the tribe.
Yeah.
And so it comes from, places that are kind of ancient, that are not necessarily necessary for this world, though we all need a tribe, but not in the same way that we did back then.
Yeah.
Plus, there's more
Absolutely.
opportunity to find tribe and build tribe
I
that
love that.
wasn't there before. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. And we're all searching for a tribe, right?
totally. 100%.
When did you become a mom?
So I have two boys. I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Yes.
So about 5.5 years ago, I first became a mom, like with a child out here. I felt like my mom's journey began when I discovered that I was pregnant.
Yes.
So that would have been a little bit more like 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. There's something that sort of activates in your brain that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for something other than me, which is funny because it's inside of you. So if you're taking care of you, you're taking care of them. But
Yeah.
still, it's kind of this like, oh man, I have to take better care of me now because there's somebody else in there relying on me. So
I
it's
love
kind of
how
a
that
funny
that
event.
truth also applies when the baby's born. That truth still applies because when you take care of yourself, right, you're also taking care of them. So I like that.
100%. That's actually probably the biggest thing. So again, with energy healing and stuff, I first initially dived in for just having a better life. I wasn't happy with my life. I was dealing with suicidal ideation, different things like that. That are very heavy and very dark, and I didn't want that for my life. And so I initiated into it because of that. But with motherhood, it sort of actually gave me, I feel like people that are parents, I know that a lot of the time parents are like, oh, I have more on my plate, I have more responsibilities, I'm getting less sleep, I'm far more exhausted, my clothes are always stained, all these different things, right? So it sometimes seems like your parents are getting kind of the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
um, but I actually feel like being a parent is actually like magnified the opportunity for me to sort of heal and understand all of those healing things. And one of the major things that kind of came through for me is years ago, I heard this book, and this lovely woman was, I wish I could remember the title of the book. If I do, I'll share it. But she was basically explaining that you, as a mom, a lot of the time, you'll make this beautiful, healthy lunch for your kid, and then you'll go stuff a Pop-Tart in your face in the pantry because you're just trying to like be done with your lunch so that you can go do the dishes or go clean something or go get nap time handled or, whatever. And she goes, this is, sweet as an idea, but it's terrible as a practice. She goes, you have to, and this is a very tricky thing for a lot of moms to hear. You kind of have to put your health and your wellness right before your children, neck and neck for sure, but right there before them, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't take care of them if you're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that journey for me on a kind of energetic level, I started doing some of the practices, prioritizing my eating better, prioritizing my exercise more, prioritizing my rest, giving myself permission to be a little bit more relaxed about this or that, to give myself a little more space to decompress or breathe or whatever I needed to show up for myself. But it was only when I kind of tipped the scale over just enough for me to realize that it was deeper than that. It was on an energetic level of, do I genuinely love, appreciate, adore, and have compassion for myself? Am I unconditionally loving and caring and receiving all of myself in this world? There's moments as humans where we show up and we're not showing up as nice as we'd like to, or as kind or as supportive or as whatever. And, we're just like our kids, we're just big kids learning and growing also. And it was when I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this pure, unconditional love for myself in order to begin to remove those judgments from my kids when they do something hard. Or when they do something that's hard for me to handle. It's the space that I hold for myself that ends up actually turning around and allowing me to give them the love that I've always wanted to. And I was like, it was one of those moments where you're like, yes, I know that I need to do that. Oh no, how do I do that? I don't remember being taught that,
Yeah.
So
No, that's
yeah.
why you're on this podcast, is because all of what you just said. It's so perfect. This is great. What challenges have you faced that made you recognize when you weren't in the right headspace?
So one of the first experiences I kind of had with it was years ago. It was actually before I became a mom that it was like my first leaf turning over, and I've turned to this story as a mom now because it's funny. I feel like becoming a mom adds depth to the stories that you already have.
Yeah.
For me, one of the things that was really eye-opening was once I became a mom, I started going, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't know. Like to all the other moms in my life that I either was like, oh, I've got this great advice, or oh, like you don't understand your kid, or whatever it was, whatever weird belief that I had that I expressed. I actually went back to several of those moms and just said, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Becoming a mom opened up this space of understanding for me that made me realize that I was speaking from the perspective of somebody who was single and didn't have the capacity to understand what it was like to be responsible for another life,
Yeah.
in that way. And so anyway, but I had this experience just before, probably about a year before becoming a mom, and actually less than a year before becoming pregnant, where I was watching some people that I really loved and cherished, this beautiful family. And they were all these sisters that we were all playing games together, like board games and stuff. And they were just teasing the crap out of each other. And I I come from a background of being adopted and having kind of a patchwork crazy family. And so I always fantasized about these families that, were normal or whatever, oh, they're all from the same family. They must be so bonded and connected and all these things. And I just watched these five sisters just tease the crap out of each other, making comments about so and so's big butt, or this story about so and so wrecking some car when they were like 14, or all these different things that they were just like surfacing. And I was like mortified. What are these girls doing? They're sisters. They should have this beautiful, supportive, loving, compassionate energy, right? And after this game night, I was kind of alone in my space, and I just started bawling out of frustration. Why are they so mean to each other? They have this great opportunity to have this sisterhood and this supportive network, and they're totally not using it. They're abusing it, and they're not taking care of each other. Why? And I was so angry. And this little like voice in my head was like, you know why you're so angry, right? And I sometimes have these like short dialogues with myself, not too crazy, just enough. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And the voice goes, you're angry at the way they were talking to each other because that's how you talk to yourself all day long. And I was like,
Wow.
just like flooded, just tears for like an hour, right?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
totally uncontrollable. Um, my boyfriend, my husband now, but boyfriend then was like, I love you. It's okay. I'm not going to offer anything right now because I have no idea what you're doing. Like, just, being as tender as he could, having no clue why I was just sobbing uncontrollably. So, anyway, fast forward a little bit. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, I prioritized just noticing, like, especially when I was in the mirror, because that's when, the mean talk gets really loud. Am I like picking apart the cellulite or the wrinkles or the random gray hair that just popped in, or the body fat that I don't love, whatever it is? Am I picking apart something? Um, and at that stage, it was very at that surface, like physical level. And, am I picking myself apart? And I was really surprised, um, because I noticed that I was, and so I began like adjusting that, being like, well, what can I like, rather than trying to be like, oh yeah, your cellulite's so beautiful, I'd be like, hey, I love your eyebrows. They're great. I love the color of your hair. It's so beautiful, the way that it is naturally. I'd look for what I could hold on to that was good. Um, Rather than trying to force myself to fall in love with the pieces that I wasn't so sure about at that stage. And this really bizarre thing happened over the course of the next 2 weeks. My body dropped 15 pounds.
Wow.
I didn't change my water intake. I didn't change my exercise. It was the middle of winter. I was definitely not getting out exercising more. I didn't change my diet. The only thing that I am certain that I changed was this interaction with myself. Um, and I would say that, oh yeah, that was just like a fluke, but it was something that stayed with me. Even through like after I had so many people say, oh, after you stop nursing, your body will just pound on weight again because it's got to go through that adjustment period of they were taking the nutrient and now they're not.
Yeah.
And it didn't. My body just, as soon as my body was done being that source of nutrient for my littles, I stayed in that space of being just that kindness to like my body's transition. And it's, bodies after pregnancy and babies is different and an adjustment for sure. And so I stayed in that space, and I am smaller, lighter, fitter than I was in high school. And I was like, this is
That's
amazing. In high
yeah,
school, I tried every day to run and do things, and nothing. But if I had known that it was the way that I was thinking about myself and treating myself, um, I feel like it would have been so different.
totally. That's so crazy. That's so cool. I might try that.
Yes. So then I think the next thing is like noticing, and this is harder without the mirror, when you're not looking at things physically, is the next level might be something, or if in my experience, it was something that was noticing, like, am I being hard on myself for snoozing in the morning? Can I be, can I have more compassion and be like, hey, you got up 3 times last night with Koa, like, it's okay for you to snooze for 15 minutes. Like, you know what your day entails. Like, on the days that I absolutely have something, I get up. And so, it's, instigating that compassion in moments like that. Or, um, I've discovered for me, if I have a really strict regimen for eating, I go crazy. And then I get really like hard on myself if I don't keep up with it. And so I've learned to do things like, hey, my goal is to, like right now, my goal is to make sure I have a vegetable every day. That's so silly. It's so
Oh, it's so
simple.
simple.
I'm not saying like 6 vegetables. I'm not saying like, I mean, I can chop up onions and throw it into something that I'm cooking and be like, cool, I got a vegetable today. Like, I got something. Um, and for me, it's the setting goals that are not just realistic, but things that are like compassionate to me, things
Yeah.
that are not going to put so much pressure that I end up like kind of ripping myself apart because I'm not showing up for them.
Yeah.
um and so and celebrating like, hey, I did choose to put, avocado in this, and I chose to put this good thing in it, and I tried this new recipe, and recipes are hard for me, so that feels really exciting and good. And it's celebrating all the little things and kind of noticing the moments that we're being harder on ourselves, especially as moms. I sort of took on this mentality of, oh no, if they're doing it, I taught them to do that, which is only partially true, because there's so many places for kids to get information these days, right? There's
Totally.
endless media that they don't have like endless access to necessarily, but there's, different media, there's other family members, there's friends, there's a school if they go to school, there's different places for them to pick stuff up. And so I've had to go, you know what? They're not a perfect reflection of me. And I need to, whatever they're picking up is what I need to support them with, not be upset about them having. So, and especially not be upset about me for giving it to them.
I have known Amanda for almost 8 years now, and every time we get together, I am expanding my internal awareness and growing myself. She has so much insight that is extremely valuable. The times I have spent in communication with her have been helpful and is always a reminder of where I am heading with my goals, and I am able to center myself in the right direction. You should reach out to Amanda right now, as she has this awesome deal for those listening. 50% off her Healing from Home program with full personal walkthrough, access to ever-growing depth of insights to regenerate habits menu, and Fall into Joy bonus at a $3,600 value for only $1,800 for the months of January and February. This program is available only through interview acceptance. You can send an email to Amanda at lifeworksforyou@gmail.com. That's LYFE works 4YOU@gmail.com. You will mention the I Am podcast for the discount and to schedule the interview to see if she's the right fit to support your journey.
Well, Amanda, you talked about goals. What goals have you set for yourself, and what goals have you set for your family, to help yourself get in that right headspace?
That is a super good question. So, goals for my family are slowing down to understand what's going on in a moment. So this one has been a big struggle for our family at times. So we'll use it as an example.
Okay.
Bedtime. So we've got a wonderful 5-year-old who does not love bedtime. That's when he gets his surge of energy. He's finally ready to play with me. He wants to tell me 16,000 things. And you know, interestingly enough, like I know a lot of, and historically, I've heard a lot of parents say things like, oh yeah, they get up to go to the bathroom 1,000 times, or they, need a drink 1,000 times or whatever. And one of the things we did with our boys is we always had water available just there. So one, they didn't have anywhere to go. Um, but it was like, cool, you feel like you need to hydrate, I'll support you hydrating. And we would encourage them to go to the bathroom, but we've been there a lot during bedtime. And so they weren't wandering off to come find us to go to the bathroom. We were just there. Um, so there were certain things like that that didn't really show up for us. It was more of just this struggle of not wanting to like shut the body down and go to sleep. And in the past, there have been a lot of times where that's led to a lot of contention. I'll spend 2 or 3 hours just lying with them, being like, I will sing this song 5,000 times if it means you'll eventually go to sleep. Like, please just go to sleep. And then my wonderful husband will get so angry and upset because that means we're not getting time together and we're not getting a chance to discuss things that we'd like to discuss or whatever. And so he would get really, really upset about it. And then there would be sort of this three-way thing where my son's kind of indignant about bedtime. And I'm sort of, no, it needs to be peaceful, but I'm doing it in a very, it must be peaceful kind of way. And then my husband's going, it needs to be over right now. And so we'd have this three-way argument going on. And the thing that we discovered was it was because, my husband wanted that time with me. It was because my son felt like one of his needs didn't get met that day and he needed that time right then. For me, it was like my traumatic childhood that like I demanded that there was peace at bedtime. Like,
Yeah.
And so we were able to, we've begun the process of slowing down during those moments where feel all of our energy amping up, and we take breaths and we take space if we need space for a minute, and we evaluate what is happening here. Why is it really happening? Yes, it's bedtime. Yes, we need to do one of the things we've had to explain to our 5-year-old is we don't do bedtime because we're mean. We do bedtime because you're little and you're growing and you need it.
Yeah.
And even deeper than that, like we want him to be healthy and happy and, feel more peace and joy throughout the day. And that's going to come from good sleep and a good bedtime and different things like that. So one of our big goals right now is slowing down, even when we feel like, my son will always be like, I need to get outside right now. And he'll be like trying to shove his foot into a shoe. And I'm like, dude, slow and steady wins. If you slow down just this much, I can get your shoe on faster than if you're like trying to force it to happen. And so we slow down just that little bit in those like tougher moments and just really evaluate, this is why I think that it needs to happen, but why do I think that it needs to happen? What's underneath that even? And it's usually that underneath that we go, oh, okay, Colton feels neglected and he needs time with me. We need to prioritize that. Or we need to prioritize starting bedtime earlier, knowing that it's going to take a while or whatever it might be. So that's like a big family goal right now, is that slowing down to honor the moment and understand it. And that has been transformative for it being more simple, more peaceful. It's just like the shoes, slowing down just a little bit to make it happen just a little bit faster. And actually, we've witnessed his falling asleep time has vastly reduced. It used to literally be like 3 hours every time. And now it's like an hour or less and I'm like, that's not so bad, spending an hour of quality family time right before they're resting. Now we've gotten better about utilizing things like stories and books and creative thinking. He, like my 5-year-old, likes to talk about being a game designer, which I think is hilarious because he's 5. But then he'll like talk with me about it before bedtime. Mom, what kind of game would you have me make? I'm like, oh, I'd have you make me a fairy game where I get to be a fairy and I get to fly around doing fairy things and whatever. And we discuss it, and that helps his brain get that connection. But it also, it's just like this good, great fantasy play before he's falling asleep,
That's so
which
amazing.
leads to him sleeping all night long, which
Yeah.
is great.
That's awesome.
And then I forget, you asked family goals, and then what else?
A goal that you set for yourself.
Okay. So right now, one of my main goals is, I believe that the influences that you have in your life make up who you are. So we don't always get the opportunity to choose all of the people that are in our lives. Some of them are just beautiful people that we love, that we get to be around. And so I really prioritized having, um, and I say 15 minutes, but I don't even worry if it's 15 minutes. I just worry that I checked in and I tried. And it's I usually do audiobooks, but an audiobook that kind of helps me grow that compassion for myself, that helps me grow that peace in myself, that might give me insights into, the beautiful ways that this life works. And just like right now, one of the ones I'm listening to is called Conversations with God. And it was like all these wonderful little tidbits of, oh, I'm putting too much pressure on my relationship with my husband. This book explains it so well. I can adjust that this way. Just little things to kind of keep that circle of influence around me more positive, to better support me, slowing down during the day to do the family goal, and slowing down for myself when I'm, feeling frustrated with myself, or feeling like I always notice that I'm feeling a lot for myself when it starts turning outward on my family.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, I'm being sassy and snotty right now, and that means I've got something going on right here. It needs the love and support. And so then I am able to pull back a little bit and go, okay, what pressure am I putting on myself to show up right now? What thing do I think I should be doing? What's there that I can hold better space for, more compassion for, or even look at and be like, oh, that's what's there. Cool. I can do this so that this can get done. It's not that it won't get done. It's not that I just hold myself compassionate, and don't do anything, but it's the holding the space to be like, oh, okay, cool. I have something that needs to be addressed so that I can get to these things that I feel need to be done.
Yeah. I like that. That's amazing. So in total, what it comes out to, from what I hear you say, the best strategy is to slow down and breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be
100%? Breath work is, in fact, my biggest advice for anybody that is dealing with any type of mental and emotional major struggles is breath work. I didn't realize this. It's not something they teach in schools necessarily. But I discovered several years ago that the majority of our population is constantly in a state of fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this with a lot of tenderness and compassion. I feel like it's a little bit hilarious because a lot of us are genuinely quite safe. There's not bears running after us. There's not, a huge threat of famine, especially in places like the United States. And there's so many resources and different things. And so this constant state of fight or flight, which I believe is what helps cultivate, this major depression, or the anxiety, or these other psychological diagnoses that people have been given. I think underneath all of it is this stuck in fight or flight state. And I discovered a couple of years ago that it wasn't that hard to get out of. People think, oh, you need to de-stress. I'm like, what does that mean? And I'd get so upset about it because I was like, I'm doing what I can. I'm doing a hot bath when I can. I'm doing this thing when I can. And, those things can help. But it's on a physiological level, it's on a chemical level of what's going on in your body. And so doing breath work, doing a big breath in, breathing in, as big as you can. Once you feel like you're totally full, then forcing just a teeny bit more in, and then breathing out through your mouth like you're breathing through a straw. Doing that breath 6 times is so simple. And I think that's where people get caught up in it, is it's the simplicity. But it's that simple thing that takes your body and actually starts dumping positive chemicals into your body instead of all of that cortisol and adrenaline and all those other things, which I actually think, I digress a little bit, but I actually think is related to a lot of like the adrenal fatigue that people have and the thyroid issues and the different things like that. I think it's an excess of stress hormones and stress in the body that's not being taken from that fight or flight into the rest and digest often enough.
Yeah.
And so, doing a simple breath like that, really, really expanding your lungs, shows your lungs, oh, I'm safe to expand. And then breathing out so slowly through the straw goes, oh, I'm safe enough to breathe like this
Yeah.
for as long as I can. And so those things then pump those, good chemicals into the body. And for me, I use that breath when I'm frustrated in traffic, when I'm frustrated with my boys, when I'm about to have a hard conversation, when I'm about to do something that, is scary, maybe exciting, but scary. Any time that there's an excess of an emotion that feels a little overwhelming, I'll go straight to the breath, because that is what causes my brain to go, okay, I'm totally safe. Because I'm safe, I can notice all the wonderful things around me. I can think clearly. I can draw in good insights and understanding. I can retain more. It makes peaceful, beautiful conversations more easy and accessible. It's totally transformative. And I actually told a client this yesterday. This is not innate for us to do this. We've not been raised in a society where it's natural to be like, I'm so stressed out, I'm going to breathe.
Yeah.
It's not like normal, right? So I actually, in order to create the normality with myself, I started with 3 alarms. I recommend one right before bed, and then 2 other ones throughout the day that go off at a time that you're maybe less likely to just ignore it. And I mean, I've had these alarms going off for years. I still have them on my phone.
Wow.
And it's this reminder to breathe. I've used them as a gratitude alarm, and then they went from my gratitude alarm into my breathe alarm, because I wanted to bring breathing in kind of at random, scheduled, but random times throughout my day. And cause myself to do the breath and be like, okay, I did the breath. Even if you start with just a breath, like, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to do this one breath.
Yeah.
Great. The more you have the alarm go off, the more you show up and even do the one breath, you'll, grow to do the 6. And the thing is that once you're doing that more, then in those moments where it's really hard and you really need it, your body will go, breathing. It'll then bring it to the forefront of your mind, because you're in rest and digest more often, so it's more likely to bring up something like that, because it's become more accustomed to it. And 2, just the practice, your body is more used to that thing, and so it will then be like, oh yeah, there's this thing that will help me kind of and that a lot of the times is the thing that we use to slow down for a second. We'll stop, we'll take a breath, and then we'll readdress like what is going on here, which is also better, because if you're addressing the moment from fight or flight, well, you're either going to run away from it or you're going to fight, and that's not going to work out.
No.
But if you're addressing it from that rest and digest, your brain suddenly goes, oh, I can see why they're doing this. Oh, I can see why I'm doing that. Oh, I can see the need that needs to get filled. Oh, I can see the option to fill it. And you don't necessarily need a lot of money or resources to fill those things. For kids, a lot of the time they just need to be heard and they need to be snuggled. A lot of the time that's all they need.
Well, I'll be
So,
definitely be setting my alarm. So thank you for
yay, I
that.
love it.
And
Absolutely.
Amanda, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I really do feel like that I am benefiting a lot from this conversation, and I really hope other moms are also going to be benefiting from this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I'm so glad to be here and share these wisdoms that we've struggled to find.
Yes.